All right, accounting students, this video is intended to be the start of helping you through your final project. What you'll notice about the class from this point forward is you will get a very short chapter, end of chapter assignment, and then I will ask that you continue to work on your final project over the next few weeks. It's due the week of the 22nd, and I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to work on that and ask questions before it's due. So for the rest of the class, this will be assigned to you as homework to work on your final project, as well as to work on a small amount of work for the chapters in addition to it. So the, the project itself is just comparing two companies. I gave you options of the two companies that you can compare. I really want you to learn how to read financial statements and read financial news in order to make good decisions. These are examples of what you can use. If you really want to use something different, just let me know, and I'm very open to allowing you to do that. So what's due this next week is a one-page overview of the company, including stock price history, and what's the company worth, and who owns the most shares of the company. So I'm going to give you a start of how to find some of that information and where to look. I am going to use the Sherwin-Williams company because that is one that I know well, and it'll give you an example to show you guys how to find the information you're looking for. So all I'm typing into Google is Sherwin-Williams annual report. Click here and get the information that we need on the annual report. So their annual report is a collection of all their accounting information and the notes that they make to justify and explain the reason why they do what they do in accounting. So this report here is something all of you are going to have to read for both of your companies. It starts out with a letter from the leadership, and when you get that letter from the leadership, it'll go through financial highlights and then a letter to the shareholders, which basically says, here's who we are and here's where we're going. These are really, really valuable for this assignment, to read this for your two focus companies and to find out how they believe they're going to reward you as an owner of their company. And you're going to learn why these type of things here are important information. So right now, even though you've done the connect work, if you read comparable diluted earnings per share increased 11.1%, I need you to do an assignment like this to make it tangible and real. If you wanted to compare two companies, you can see here I typed into Google PPG, which is the stock symbol for Pittsburgh Paint, and Sherwin-Williams, so a comparison of the two stocks. You could do this for the two stocks that you choose to do. Just type it in and then find out what the financial community says about it. Try to find the most recent information and understand it. So I could say Stock News Gazette claims that. Here's the analysis of both companies. What you'll see as well is when we get into doing work, this company right here, Morningstar.com, is a really valuable asset for you to start understanding the history of the stock. So these right here will be your favorite things to look at for both companies. The stock analysis is something that you have to pay for. Believe me, you'll be able to find almost everything you need without having to go and buy a premium membership. If you look at the price history of Sherwin-Williams stock, the reason why I had you go all the way back to 2007 is because the market crash of 2008 is important for all companies to understand, and I want to make sure that you can understand what happened and why the changes were made that were made. I owned Sherwin-Williams stock for a while, and you guys will see that I owned Sherwin-Williams stock back when I worked there, and it was selling for $44. When I quit, I said, well, Sherwin-Williams stock isn't going anywhere, and I sold all of mine at 60. And you can see that if I had held it, my investment would have been much more valuable than if I had sold it off like I did. You will go through and understand the key ratios. When we look at the key ratios for these stocks, you can see that Morningstar has already done all of the work that you need to see. And you can see from 2008, Sherwin-Williams was selling about $8 billion worth of product every year. And now they are selling all the way up to $15 billion. Your job is to go through these ratios and find out what is different about this company versus the competitor. So for me, I would have to pull up the key ratios for Sherwin-Williams and for PPG Paints and find out what makes these two companies different and go through and capture all of the different ratios. I ask that you look at 5 different things for each one. We talked about the vertical analysis of a company. So if you go into the key ratios and you see the profitability, you can see here it's a percent of sales. So vertical, this is what these ratios are. These are all vertical ratios of what percent to sales all of these categories are. So you can see that Sherwin-Williams, when they sell products, they have a 45% gross margin. You can see that they pay their sales general and administrative costs are 31%. Then you'd go look at your competitor and find out what's the difference between those numbers. If you wanted to look at a horizontal analysis, you're simply just looking at year over year. That means from 2008 horizontally to 2018, here's the changes that were made. And you can see that there's been a margin improvement. You can see that there was a margin increase big time in 2009. All of these numbers tell a story, and it's your job to show me that you can pull one of these numbers out and understand it a little bit better in order to make a good analysis. If you want to click on some of these tabs for valuation, you can see all of these key stats for what people believe Sherwin-Williams is going to do and what's going to happen with it. You're also going to have to use a lot of Google searches to say, please help me understand what price to book ratio means and why it's important. Then when you're writing out your final paper, you can just say it's price to book and here's why it's important. And here's the 2 differences between Sherwin-Williams and PPG or Ford and Chevy or whatever 2 companies you choose to look at. Let's start there and let me know if you have any questions.